I'm at a different location. It's, I mean, we're hoping that this internet stays stable. It usually is, but there is a difference between this and last week. All right. Are you seeing it up on Facebook?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to go to the intro.
Greetings and welcome everybody to Speakin, many.His, hosted by Dekel Bor and presented by Jazz Times. My name is Louis Marks. I am here at the Rope Room just outside the great city of Philadelphia. It's a cold fall day in 2020, and we have the great pleasure today of welcoming a Philadelphia native. Kurt Rosenwinkel attended the Philadelphia High School for the Creative and Performing Arts, known around town as Kappa. And I urge you to look that school up. There are a lot of great musical legends that have attended. Kurt worked in his early years with the likes of Paul Motion, Brian Blade, and Joe Henderson, and went on to work with so many, including Q-Tip, Aaron Goldberg, the list goes on and on. His new album, Angels Around, was released this summer on his label Hart Records, and I'm sure we're going to dig into that today. Guitarist Dekel Bor has performed with jazz legends Johnny Griffin, Reggie Workman, Pat Martino, Billy Hart, and many more. And his recent release, Let Love Rule,
Let's hope it's
out
intentional.
this summer on the road.
How have you been, man? It's great to see you.
DekelBor.com.
All
Big thanks to Jazz Times for presenting this, and let's jump in and see what they have to say.
Around when we're finished.
Okay.
Welcome, Dekel.
All right. Welcome to my brilliant home. To anyone who's joining us for the first time, this series is my way of getting ready for my next album. This has been out for a few months now. It's been doing far better than I could ever hope for, which is really thanks to you guys. So in jazz, usually the way we ask for advice is usually backstage or after a thing or before a thing. And with COVID kind of putting everything on hold, I figured I'll reach out to all my mentors and my peers and my heroes and ask for advice the new fashioned way, which is through this. So without any further ado, the one and only Mr. Kurt Rosenwinkel. Kurt, it's great to see you.
How's it going, man?
It's great to see you, man. I was
Things are okay. Enjoying the time at home and do the things that we can do at home, like be with our families and make music and, for me, make records and work in my studio and compose music, so it's actually quite nice not have to spend most of my time traveling around. So it's
cool.
but of course, the situation is less than celebratory, but it's actually quite. We're trying to take advantage of the positives.
So, any few albums that you can share that you've been listening to as a fan for inspiration during all this time that we have for ourselves?
Oh yeah, I've been working on so much music, both my own and as a producer, that I've been really deeply submerged in the music of Daniel Santiago. And Daniel Santiago is a beautiful artist, Brazilian guitarist and singer and songwriter, close friend of Pedro Martins, who's another artist on my label Hardcore Records. And I met Daniel through Pedro, and we did Clapton's Crossroads Festival last year in 2019, and we became friends after that. And last February, Daniel was here in Berlin at my studio, and we started production on his album, and we just finished the mixes yesterday. So I'm really deep into his music. Yeah, it's fantastic. Really, really amazing, beautiful music. Very uplifting. Great for these times. Just beautiful songs, and they're all really short too. They're like They're like 3-4 minutes long and just take you on a ride, and it's beautiful, beautiful album. So I've been immersed in that. Um, Also, there's been a couple albums that have come out this year that have been great. Aaron Park's album is wonderful, so I've been enjoying that. And Emmanuel Wilkins' album has been just fantastic. I just
Absolutely, yeah.
really blown away by that album, and it's really good to see him getting the attention that album deserves. And so I'm really happy
Absolutely.
about that. And also, Ben Wendell's album really blew me away as well. I think that's a fantastic record.
Yeah, the
And
one that just came out.
yeah, so I've been really happy to, you know, uh, just go on a trip listening to those two albums. You know, Also, I've been, I kind of got into Post Malone.
Ah,
Yeah,
very cool.
yeah, and I, I like I like his concept, man. I think he's cool. Um, yeah, I've been checking his music out more. Um, Always listening to Beck and um,
Which albums are you? Which ones are your favorites?
um, I love Sea Change
Yeah.
and Morning Phase. Um, we just heard the song from Morning Phase the other day when we were mixing the album, just for inspiration, called Morning, and it's just incredible. Mixing techniques and production techniques on this song was just absolutely incredible. The way that sound is manipulated, and
Yeah,
I
I
love that
just
side of things.
I'm doing this similar hang over at Shure microphone channels, and we had the guys that mixed it, and it was kind of beautiful to hear about their process and just
That
kind
mixed
of how
what?
much time and effort they put into it. It's beautiful to hear.
Oh, you were talking with the guys that mixed that album, that
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Beck's? Oh
that was
shit!
very cool.
Really?
Learned a lot.
Wow! I'll bet. Holy shit! Wow, that's crazy.
So I want to congratulate you. This just came out. It's my favorite album of the year so far.
Oh, thanks,
Okay.
man.
It's unbelievable. And so here's to you. I opened a really nice bottle for it.
Thanks, brother.
And my new favorite. And
That's a
you
good
also
one.
just got engaged. So mazel tov on
Yeah.
that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Um, so this trio has been touring hard for the past few years. I mean, it seemed
Hmm.
like you had a couple of like honorary members in the trio for the past few years, but this formation has been gelling for a while. You guys been touring hard,
Yeah.
and um, I'd love to hear about just the process behind it. How much? Well, I saw you guys, I think, playing just a couple days before you tracked. You played A Train,
Ah, yeah, right. Hmm.
and so
You're in
what is the
Kreuzberg,
process
right?
for you? Come in?
You're in Kreuzberg, right?
Yeah. We moved like I mean like a minute before I saw you guys.
Wow.
We just moved in, and the winter's been kicking my ass.
Yeah. Yeah, my fiance is
Um,
from LA, so she's like
I can
also
imagine. You've been here for what, like 12, 14 years now?
yeah, about 13 years, I think. Yeah. Hmm.
I remember your going away gig at the 55,
Oh,
Grenadier and Allie
dude.
Jackson.
Yeah,
And
man. You were there?
yeah, a whole
Damn.
bunch of us. Aaron was there, Logan Richardson was there, Tommy Crane. We
Ah.
all went after school. That's kind of you, that kind of thing.
That's great, man. Yeah, that was a moment, bro. That was right
Um,
at the end of 2003. Last gig in New York, um, as a resident. Yeah, and then I
wow,
moved
wow.
to Switzerland. But yeah, that was a classic night. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an amazing night. So I'd love to hear about the repertoire because it's you haven't recorded too many standards. I mean, it was the first album, the first couple albums, and then except for Reflections, you really kind of you really focus on your own voice as a composer. So when you get into something like this, and this is probably the time to tell everyone that if you're watching this and you're sharing this to your page, we'll choose one of you guys and send you a copy of the vinyl, which actually is mastered beautifully. So, I mean, so many of my favorite tunes, the Self Portrait, Punjab. What's the process behind selection of the tunes for you?
Well, these are just some of my favorite tunes on the planet, um, and so when I was playing with the trio, I just love to call tunes and see what the vibe is, and these tunes just immediately had such chemistry with the trio, with Dario and Greg, and Dario Deida playing bass and Greg Hutchison
Yeah.
playing drums, and so they
But I
were.
can also attest from seeing you guys so many times is that the repertoire, I mean, is just absurdly huge. I mean, the book is huge.
Sure,
I don't think I've ever
sure.
seen you guys play the same set. So, so
Me neither.
what makes you choose? I mean, and how were you guys like kind of like riffing on this for a minute before kind of warming them up, or you just call them in the studio and see where it's at?
These tunes, we had a lot of experience playing them. Actually, these are tunes that we like to play live. So we do bring them out, and among all the other ones, but these ones just kind of had particular resonance with us, and we just when we went into the studio, we tracked a whole bunch of stuff, but these were the ones that came out the best. So those are the ones on the album,
And on,
but we
on an
track a
album
lot.
like this, is it mostly first or second takes, or some things you just kind of dig a little deeper into, see what it brings? What's the process like for you when you, after all these years of recording out, you record tunes that that you really kind of know and you
Yeah,
are original, everybody kind of knows the language.
yeah, yeah. It's more about the feeling of the moment. So I think in we recorded 2 days, and the first day, we were setting everything up and just get. I think everything came from the second day when then we slept on it, came back, and then just had the vibe and just played, pretty much the record down. I think we had maybe 2 or 3 takes of each, perhaps, but
Oh,
some of them
very
were
cool.
first takes, some were second takes.
I, I gotta ask you for personal advice. I've just been in the studio recording some Bach and some original stuff.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
I every once in a while I get into this rut where there's nothing I play is good enough in the studio. I hear just all the unperfect little thingies. Every
Yeah.
little arc that wasn't perfectly constructed jumps out. I mean, do you still get
Right.
that, or after all those years, it kind of eases out?
Yeah, sure, I get that. I mean, when I'm not like uh recording like a band as the trio, maybe uh if I'm just like creating a song by myself and I'm going for a solo, I'll take several different takes and then comp it together a little bit, so to get at what I really want, or sometimes just overdub on top of it, and make sure that I get the right feeling and the approach that I want. So I'm not precious about uh, you know use the getting it first take 100% perfect in the studio. Of course, when you're playing live, that's a whole different story, and that's the beauty of that. um, I think it's harder in the studio to achieve the the revelry or the passion or the joy, um, the rapture of being in the music. So that's what I'm kind of usually going after in the studio. That will sometimes take a long time to get to, since it's such a clinical um, methodology of doing one thing and another. Sometimes it'll take a while to get to the point where I'm really losing myself in the music, and then that's where it opens up, and it doesn't matter what take that happens to be, you know.
Absolutely. I also feel that jazz is such a social thing, and it's such a in the moment thing, and it's very it the way that it behaves in a room, the way that it bounces off the walls and makes something swing, and the way that it interacts with the crowd, and you can hear them listening, if on a good night, and the way it makes everybody kind of gel together. It doesn't always translate into into the studio, and it doesn't always translate to a recorded situation. Like there's many bands that I hear that sounds you hear the album, it sounds great, but when you hear them live, it sounds like a heavy metal band all of a sudden. I mean, it's just so much more powerful, and there's just so many subtleties that I don't feel are always as translate as well to the recorded situation.
Hmm.
But I kind of feel like your thing is almost it's always an exception to that. Like there's all those albums that you do always have this very super forward motion feel to and presence to them. I mean, it's really all of them have this. And is this something that is a conscious thing for you, or it's just to kind of kind of jump out at the listener, or
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, those are two totally different contexts, and both have uh, a lot of, their own unique kind of lessons that you learn along the way about how to make music happen in both of those situations, um, live and in the studio. And I think the for me the key to going into the studio with the band is to have a lot of gigs under our belt and have the music down and testing out the music live, and then going into the studio after that, like do a tour, hash out the music live, and then go in, and then boom, it's there. That's kind of the formula that I've found is most successful. I think when you have a band that has chemistry that's really working, um, then you can take that chemistry into whatever situation it is, whether it's a really cacophonous, loud room, or whether it's a tiny, silent, really intimate place, or any different kinds, or a concert hall, or a studio. These are all different, um, places that you kind of learn how to play, and I think everybody's, after a while, you kind of learn how to play different places differently, and the studio's no different, So there's things that everybody learns, and then there's the chemistry of the band, and then there's the power of the music, the songs, and then there's the vibe of the day, and then you've got a good recording. You know?
so. I want to ask you something about your process as a composer. I,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are you kind of sit for a thing and it comes out, or you spend 3 days at it developing an idea, or I mean, what was it like in when you started out as compared to what is it like now, and how much editing, how much trial and error, how much is just spirit of the moment, something just kind of flows out. What is it like for you?
Well, um, that's an interesting question. It's a deep question. It's a question that I never really thought about until kind of recently, because songs always come out naturally for me, and but there's also a lot of mm, methods and techniques that I've developed over the years, and um, but it's all just kind of second nature, and I never studied composition overtly. I always just was in my own world, making my own connections, non-verbally, actually. So um, it was only when I decided to start these master classes that I'm doing, um, that I've been doing. We've done three of them. The first one we did was in August. The second one was in
I was amazed at the amount of
October,
detail that you brought to these. I mean, I was just
and
amazed. You put so much work into it. It was unbelievable to
yeah,
see.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, the second one was on composition, so I had to really go deep and think about, where do these songs come from? Where do songs come from, and how do you work on them? And you know, for me, some songs just come out fully formed, and they're just gifts from the universe. And then other things are discoveries that you make on the instrument, and then you flesh them out and you see where they're going to go. And then there's all kinds of processes that I use in order uh, to to bring the song forward. Like, a lot of them are intuitive processes where I'll just kind of like be like in the A section. If I have an A section and I'm trying to find the B section, I'll just like stay in the A section and then start to kind of just feel what I want to like meditate upon the feeling that I want to have when it moves to the second section, and focusing on the feeling that I'll have when it moves, and then I'll just kind of put that feeling in tension and then move to a different place, and then uh,
It's
find the
interesting
next
that
section that way, intuitively.
it's interesting that many times that I see you, you use the word feeling or you use the term like a gift from the universe, and I think many people's my generation onwards always kind of saw you and your peer group as a scale to chord masters of blah blah blah. But I always get a feeling from you that from you is a very deep intuitive process of channeling something and listening to something. It's not a cognitive experience. It's a very spiritual one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's true. Um, I I've been writing songs since I was 9 years old, and I've always done it. And for me, as a musician, I've developed ways of existing within the world of my own music, and wanting to, and in jazz, and learning, uh, realizing what I have to learn, and deal as a musician with that language, and then just desiring to get a handle on that in order to be free and to express myself and to lose myself, and you know um to seek even just obliteration in the music, where I'm not thinking about anything. And I've had these many spiritual experiences where I feel like, and you hear a lot of people talk about things, this kind of thing, where you feel like something takes over and you're just kind of watching the music
Unfold,
evolve,
yeah.
unfold, on your instrument. And it's a very sacred thing. And this kind
And
of thing is
fragile.
the
Second and
thing.
fragile.
Yeah, it's a deep thing, especially when you think about what you have to do to create the conditions for that to happen again, you know. And then you start to get into the real process uh, of developing yourself as a musician, because if that's your goal, then you realize that you have to take care of the relationship that you have with many different things, and not only scales and chords and technique and sound, your mental faculty versus your heart faculty, your intuition versus your uh, mm, determined mind, and the aspects of release and being open versus the aspects of control, and the interplay of all this to create a condition where that inspiration can take over. Like, if that's the goal, then that's really a deeper uh, development.
And this is something that you find that over the course of all those years of touring, that you have a way of setting the stage for that to arrive on a consistent level, on a consistent basis, or kind of invite that
Yeah,
in.
yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the idea, you know. Yeah.
And
Anytime I
it's a matter
step on
it
stage, sorry,
it's
go
a
ahead.
matter of consciousness. I'm assuming. I mean, a state of consciousness.
Yeah, yeah, right. You know, to feel like when you step on stage, you know, you're unfolding your own antennas, you know, to the universe, and then you know on all these levels that it's functioning on, you know, the technical level is you want to just have all of these aspects functioning on the highest level you can, so that they're creating this world that can then welcome the spirit in, you know, and through. So yeah.
I gotta. There's something that I never really got to ask you. Was developing an original voice ever a conscious thing for you in your
No,
20s?
no, no, I never thought about that. um mm, it's, you know, I always just felt, you know, I always put it in terms of feeling this connection with music or not, you know. And um and then the development towards trying to get closer to that, you know, to that connection, that kind of evolved what you might call, um, my voice, you know. But that was like a secondary result.
Unbelievable. Um, so I want to ask you about some albums that I love, that I have a feeling that resonate with you just from listening hard, and just any light you'd like to shed would be beautiful. So I just show some sides. So this is Bud Powell Inner Fires. It's basically a jam session with Roy Haynes, which is something that I always feel connects with you, because when I just came to New York as a teenager to visit, you were still kind of jamming all over the city, sitting in with everyone, and taking a chord from this guy another chord from that guy. And for our generation, you were kind of like of the model of what it's like to be an upstanding member of the family and the community. Um, but this album is also about just hardcore bebop in a very free and real way that
Yeah.
I don't that it's probably common knowledge by now, but I don't think people always realize just how much of a bebop lover you are, and how much of how big a
Absolutely.
part that plays in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Bud Powell is like my, goes cuts the deepest, you know, in me. And um you know, coming up in Philly and getting that feeling of swing in and culture in my bones. And New York, you know, the home of bebop. And really just, you know, going down to Smalls and hearing Zayd Nasser, you know, or Sasha Perry, or you know, Frank Hewitt, you know, these cats. And just absolutely, you know, going so far, you know. And that's what I love about the music is it goes so far, so high, and so deep all at the same time, and with such joy and humanity. It's really the utmost expression of humanity for me, you know. And and uncompromising, like you said, hardcore aspect of it, you know, just musically. And you know, it's very dear to me, as a person and as a musician. And so yeah, that cuts deep. That's my
That's
deep
beautifully
shit.
said. I could have chosen any but I kind of chose the
Yeah.
funkiest and the dirtiest. And so another one I want to talk about is Joe Henderson. I
Yeah.
picked this one, but I almost picked another one. You
Yeah.
worked with Joe, and
Yeah.
I always feel that there's also a very strong uh, aura of influence on your writing or on your thing. I mean, there seems to be a connection there. I cannot quite put my finger on it.
Definitely. Definitely. You know, when I heard Joe's music, I felt uh like it was like nutrition, that you hadn't had, before, and you feel the effect of just this nurturing, going through your whole body, and just being like, I feel like a better person, and
I
and
gotta tell you, there's
and
another
stronger,
thing. There's another thing there that there's a thing with Johan and you that I always feel that there's this true freedom to the lines. Like I listen to you, especially live. The line could go any direction. You could really go anywhere. And it's something I kind of associate with both of you guys. To the line.
Yeah, that's the feeling, of what I want to do, and what I'm inspired by him, and by, all the greats. But yeah, actually, yeah, particularly Joe and his lines, just the way that he cuts across the music, or has so many different dances relative to the relative to every aspect, the rhythm section, and the chords, and whether he's, high up above the group, or deep down in it, in the
Yeah,
rhythm
yeah,
section, and skating, or flying, or coasting, or digging, and all of these different textures and aesthetics, and then, like, coming off the mic to get like this filtered, like, distant kind of filtered effect, like on purpose. Like, that's deep, deep, deep,
yeah.
and
And being completely free within his own changes, and then just going deep into the blues. I mean, just absolute
yeah,
blues down home,
yeah,
at the same like 4 bars.
yeah, totally, exactly,
Unbelievable.
exactly, man. So earthy and so sophisticated at the same time. It's just beautiful.
What was it like?
Oh man, it was a dream come true, and it was such a learning experience, and just actually just moments in my life that I truly have been to have had the opportunity to such a brilliant, brilliant, and titan of the music, and just to be able to share the same physical space with him, and feel his vibe, and enjoy his presence, and being together close to him, and like, I remember one time we were at the Atlanta Jazz Festival, and we were backstage, and which was outdoors, and in these kind of campers, and we were getting ready to go on stage, and I was just standing next to him, and he just ran the the range of the horn from the lowest note all the way up to the highest, just chromatic scale, but just running it, all the ranges, all the registers, and just to hear that, and to be right next to that, it
Wow,
had
wow,
like a
wow.
DNA changing effect on my whole process, my whole thing. It was like chiropractor, of spirit, and it was
I
just, incredible.
I always felt that if one was able to listen to Miles from the first row, or Coltrane, or Michelangelo in a small room, in a very small room, just the just the energies and the sound waves would just physically transform you. I always get that feeling that if it's not filtered through all those thingies, it would literally physically transform your cells.
Right, right. Because you would receive the actual sound wave generated by that person, like right there.
Physically, yeah.
Physically, exactly. Yeah, man. And think of how powerful the records are, and
Exactly.
and multiply
Exactly.
that by a factor
Per million, yeah.
of love.
Exactly. So another one that I always felt, I wasn't sure which one, I almost went with this one, Keith Jarrett Quartet, almost the one, but instead I picked this one out. I
Oh,
always
man.
felt that this had a thing for you, just in
Bro,
the
how did you
just
know?
absolutely outpouring lines in
Yeah.
a state of
Well,
consciousness that's very, very deep.
wow. That's very, very perceptive of you. I don't know how you got that info.
I'm listening. You're playing. You know how people always say, "Can you send me a chart or a transcription so I can learn?" I'm like, just press play. I mean,
Mhm. Yeah, man. Dude, both of those albums have been huge for me. Bop B, I've listened to so much, man, and the writing in that, it's so great. And just I love that band. The band is so killing and
unbelievable.
represents really a lot of the elements of how I play and how particularly Ben Street and Jeff Ballard and Mark Turner and I developed our sound, came from that group, and
Can you
and that
elaborate on this?
album.
Because for
Well,
for
yeah,
for me and my
sure.
friends, you guys are like the Colton Quartet of our of our times. So I was actually there when you played the first tour in Europe. I was there at the Jazz House in Copenhagen. I was
Oh,
probably 18 or something like that.
hmm,
And I kind of stayed in touch with Mark ever since.
yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, um, we used to listen to those albums. The way that particularly that group would go in and out of composition, taking taking the elements of the of the song and then going free with it, and relating to the different rhythmic elements in a non um, uh, what do you say, like in a non vertical,
Yeah.
quantized way, the in a much more free associative way. So Paul Motion, um, who's the master of this way of playing, so that and then Dewey, the way that Dewey was so chewy,
Ha!
across the
Absolutely.
across
I'm gonna
the
steal this
band,
line from you. I'm definitely stealing that line. But I
Yeah.
always felt that another thing that you guys had with that band, with that quartet, is this very beautiful focus on beautiful melodies while still having this "we are a bunch of wild rebels" feel to it. That I thought it's very rare, I think, in our music. And you guys definitely had that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, those were wild times.
Ah,
Uh, yeah, yeah, man.
and what
Those,
about?
yeah,
No, go ahead, go ahead.
no, nothing.
So what about the trio that D had for you over the years, or this album or any other?
Oh, yeah. Well, Gary Peacock and Dejanette and Keith. I mean, and rest in peace, Gary Peacock, and you know, utmost uh, gratefulness for that trio for everything they did, and still live is, I mean, for everybody, I would think it's just the uh, most beautiful expression of, like you said, freedom and rapture, and and space and sound and connectedness with such generous uh, space for all the musicians, and man, it's just beautiful melodies and incredible inventiveness, and the rhythm, the way that they're you know relating rhythmically and formally with so much space, and it's a revelation of how to play, and you know how little you can play and then how much you can play at different times.
Yeah, and his connection
Oftentimes,
is unreal. His connection to
yeah,
whatever is underneath us.
yeah,
It's kind of
yeah,
unreal.
yeah, the sacred flame of inspiration.
And that I kind of associate with you. So I'm jumping on to the next one. Um, I didn't know which one to choose. There's the obvious. I chose the score for the quartet, which was there's a correlation there somewhere. And I chose the
Yeah,
Matheny Trio, but I could choose any album from these guys. I
yeah,
mean, you're kind of like the only guy afterwards that really kind of changed things completely. And I imagine when you went to school, everybody still kind of tried to sound like these guys.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I definitely sounded like those guys at a certain point, for sure. I loved. I mean, I was in Philly, and I went to uh, um, I forget the name of the venue, but it was a big venue, and I heard Schofield, and they were touring, I think, Blue Matter,
Ah,
and I was 18, and man, it just blew my head. It just blew my mind, and I just couldn't believe it was so fucking funky and in the
yeah, he's
pocket, and then just relentless, just lines and ideas for days, as he always is every time I hear him. And so he had a huge influence on me, and I was just like, damn, man, that's the shit. You can do that. That's possible. I had no idea that was possible. And then
he's
that was
also one
just
of the greatest guys on the planet to just play blues and rhythm
yeah.
changes. I
Oh, dude.
mean the jaws on the
Yeah.
floor.
Yo. Yeah. Yeah, man. He's just ferocious, man. Endless ideas. Just my god, man. He
Yeah.
just blows me away every single time I hear him. And it's been many many times. I'm lucky to have seen him many 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 times, and every single time it's just like, dude.
Yeah.
Um, and also Matheny. When I heard his music when I was a teenager, it was like American Garage and First Circle and um, Pat Metheny Group and
I always dug
Travels
Travels a
and
lot. I
Off
always
Ramp.
thought, yeah,
Travels was the shit, and Off Ramp was the shit, man. And then Still Life Talking was also the shit. And I heard him a couple times. I heard him saw him at the Man Music Center once, and also at Lehigh College, which was cool because that we had to like drive out into Pennsylvania to Lehigh, Pennsylvania, and he played like a college like uh, like a college auditorium, and that was a hell of a show, man. It was like
this was the group.
it was like off the beaten track, so they were just like going for it, taking all kinds of chances, and really just laying into it, and that was just unbelievable to see, the whole production and uh the whole way that you can employ so many different textures and combinations and orchestrations of things in an electric group, and go so far, the spectrum from one place to another. It's like these very clear and poignant actual places, like physical places, that conjure up these very specific imageries in your head while you're listening to them, and these destinations, like it's like astral traveling, when you're listening to that, and that's so beautiful. And the melodies, of course, his melodies are just so uh, joyful. I remember going to my guitar teacher to a lesson when I was a kid, and having Matheny on the headphones on the Walkman, and just like running down the street like just
Yeah, absolutely,
oh.
absolutely.
So yeah, those guys are huge inspirations for me, and continue to be for sure.
So last one of the day. I wasn't sure which one to get, but I could take any. I almost took Coltrane and Duke or Coltrane and Hartman,
Mm,
but you
yeah.
have this thing where you kind of close your eyes and you kind of let go into the universe in a way. And it seems that in these very, very difficult times for everyone, but I think almost artists in particular, the world it seems just almost hostile to artistry and to honesty in music and
Mhm.
to dreams in music. And for us, I mean, you have always been an oracle almost. You close your eyes, and it could be in smalls or it can be in a festival, and there's just going to be a moment before you count off. You're going to close the eyes, and I can see you transform, and you take yourself and everyone to a greener pastures. And so,
Well, thanks.
anything you want to say, I mean, of what
Oh,
spirituality in music, especially in the world at all.
yeah. Well, I think that it's always tough out there, you know, um, in the world per se, with all of the the politics and the business that you might be in the midst of, as an artist. But I've always believed in the power of the music itself, and also, like when you are connecting with this other place, then you have the the opportunity and the chance to leave this world behind, and then bring something to this world, so when that's happening, there's that's the most beautiful feeling, and the most really important thing that an artist can be doing. And so uh the worldly issues don't
Yeah,
really
it is what it
matter,
is. Yeah,
yeah.
I always felt that. I always felt that it was never about. It could be you could be about selling this amount of records, getting that amount of gigs, or better or not as good of a gig or whatever. But at the end of the day, I get to close my eyes and do this, and the universe explodes to me. And I don't
Yeah.
think there's. I think there's very few things that could ever compete with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just try to oh, the the lights
I
going off.
dug that. I thought that was exactly the right
Well,
panache for the
thanks.
end of the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. I just try to uh to have a handle on the business stuff, so that you can my only intention is to be able to do it further and better, um like uh if I have extra money, I'm buying something that'll make the music better, so uh my intentions, in that sense, are still just related to the music, just wanted to make more music, get a better gig, be able to have a better production. I've always been struggling um, to um, to be able to put my music out there the way that that it deserves, and so like for example, when I put together my Kaipi band, um, and I toured that album, uh, I invested my own money into that, and that's not a unique story. You hear that story all the time, and but it's like it's a labor of love, and it's a if nobody else is going to give it to you, then you have to just do it anyway.
Yeah.
In certain things, and so I have a band that's 6 people, and we're on the road, and we're doing a world tour, and you know, all I just want to present the music in the best way possible. So I'll fly everybody to my house, and we'll have a week rehearsal, and then we'll do that again. And then at the end of that, then we're ready to play, and we're ready to play like a touring pop band is ready to play. Like really ready to play, where everything is really rehearsed to the point that it should be, and you're able to really give the best product out there, the best presentation of the music that's possible. And
And you did that
you
before
have to have a
every
business
leg of the
infrastructure
tour?
to do that. Sorry.
You did that before every leg of tour? I mean, or every new music, or every.
No, when I formed the band, I flew everybody, three people from Brazil, and one from New York, and Olivia was living in Berlin at that time, and brought everybody together for 1 week of rehearsals, and then everybody went back with no gig, and because I didn't want to have the pressure of having to get something together, just to inaugurate the band, and we became a close family. So everybody went back, and then I brought everybody together again for another week, and then again, and then we started our first gigs. And
Unbelievable.
I just wanted to do that because I know that that's what it takes. And, you know, nobody would have said to me that it was possible to do it, because of the financial situation in the world and in my life. But I just didn't care. I said I'm going to do it anyway. Um,
I
and I'm
always
glad I
imagined.
glad I did.
I'm glad you did, but I always imagined the quintet that did the Vanguard to have a similar process of just enough time on the fire, and also the hardcore band. I know you guys toured.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I mean, I always
Well,
imagined the hardcore band. I always imagined it like in festivals with lighting and
we would have liked to, but we didn't get any gigs.
one step at a time. It
I
would,
mean, but it was the same for that. I mean, I rehearsed that band all summer, at my house in Brooklyn, and we were ready. We were ready to tour. We did some gigs. We did, but it didn't really kick off for that album at that time.
it
Maybe
became
if
a
it had
legend.
come
It
out
became
now.
for us. It's like a landmark album, really, in so many ways.
Yeah, I hear that, but I never seem to get the opportunities to present these things when by the
It's very.
powers that be.
I'll give you
So
the
I'm
solution.
just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna do it myself. I'm always like that. I just have to do it
Court,
myself.
I have the answer. The problem you have is you're about 15 years ahead of your own time, not just everyone's time. If you bridge that gap of 15 years, that's all we need to do.
I'll just sit on these albums for 15 years and then come
And,
out with it.
and,
That's what
and
you're
you know,
saying.
and the world will align itself. You're too ahead of
Yeah,
your
maybe,
time.
maybe.
Man, I'm just so
That's funny.
happy that you
But,
found a minute to join us on this thing. It's so great to
oh,
see
dude,
you.
my pleasure.
The
My
album is
pleasure.
amazing. I love it.
Thanks,
Um,
Dekel.
Congratulations on the upcoming
Thanks,
wedding
brother.
when the
I
thing is
would I would
over.
cheers you with the bottle of wine you sent me, but it's all gone. But here I got a
That's
I
the
got
way
a
to
beer.
do
Here's
it.
here's a beer.
That's the way to do that one.
My brother. And congratulations on your album too, Dekel. It's really
Thanks
nice.
so
Man. I
much.
was checking it out, brother.
Thanks so much, man. Thanks so much.
All
So
right.
we'll see you guys real soon, and stay safe. And we hope to see you,
Yeah.
and everyone who's watching, share the thing, check out this album, and we'll see you guys real soon.
Yeah. Cheers.
Bye bye.